Okay, and so just like that, the 2019 show is upon us, and we're put in this odd position, Roots, where we have to sort out what the best games of the year are. And, a year ago it wouldn't have been such a big deal because, you've kind of got your PlayStation. Well, I mean, it was just console and it was PC last year, and there wasn't a whole lot going on in either of those, if we're being honest. But now we have three booming platforms, and so I guess the place to start would be by breaking it down by platform, and I think that's what we're going to do here. We're going to take a look at the best Quest games of 2019, and I think that obviously it's the best Quest games of all time, folks, because the Quest just came out this year. Roots, when I got looking at the Quest games, what really surprised me is that the Quest library is a lot more deep than I had thought that it was. I mean, I knew there was some solid titles on it, but I had no idea there were this many. Did you?
No, it's funny you say that because I was looking at it and because I was helping people on Reddit and I was trying to come up with games that they should buy, and I started looking at the list and I was like, my lord, like I don't remember all these games coming out, but in the back of my mind, because we're always talking about it, I do remember specifically each one of them, but it's like they snuck up, but they didn't. And this is it's a very, very extensive library, and that's what an exciting time to have a Quest, right?
Yeah, yeah. It was like it's like I always kind of had this picture of the Quest library in the back of my mind as something that's eventually going to get there, but it's not there yet. It's a lot closer than I thought it was.
Yeah.
And case in point, trying to get to pick just 10 games for this video here because we wanted to hold it to the top 10 candidates for Oculus Quest Game of the Year. It was pretty rough. It took some debate, a little deliberation just to get it down to 10. So it's going to be, I imagine, just as hard to get it down to 1, right?
Yeah, it's gonna be really difficult, but that's why it's glad. I was just telling you earlier, I'm glad that the audience is helping us and giving us lists. It makes it a lot easier when we have your input as well. So
yeah, it does help, especially with something like Quest. But it gives us cause for pause because I came up with this list. We came up with this list together, and then I get looking at the Discord, and then gaming science teacher, who probably plays more Quest than anybody that I know, certainly more than I do, and she's got, what was it? I Expect You to Die as her game of the year for Quest, and I don't even have that in my top 10. Do you?
no, but that's only because there's so many good games out there. And that was one of the things that making this list was a little difficult because a lot of these games are ports, and so we've played them through. And for somebody coming in new to VR, it's like, oh my god, this game is amazing, and we're like, okay, it's been out for a while, so that goes through your mind as well. But you have to take it as a completely new platform, and all that goes out the window. Every game is new, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So.
and yeah, you're right. A lot of these games are ports. But I can speak from experience when I say that that playing these games tetherless, in some cases, especially the games we have on this list, it gives you a whole new experience from what you had before. But we'll get to the ports for a moment. But at the very top of our list, we're going to start with a couple of games that aren't ports, games that were developed specifically for Quest, and still to this day are a couple of the very best that you can get on Oculus Quest. And the first one is The Journey of the Gods. Now, The Journey of the Gods, and as is the case with most, if not all of these, was ported on the Oculus Rift, but it was developed as an Oculus Quest title. And what I can say about this game, it's a kind of a Zelda-esque adventure game, but what really, really stuck out to me about this game, other than the creative enemies and creative worlds, was just the absolute great quality of the sound design in this game. What this game lacks in visual fidelity, it makes up for in sound design. And even though this is a very cartoony game, I felt a very high level of presence in this game, Roots. What did you think about it?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's one of the biggest games. Whenever somebody says they want like a big game that they can sink their teeth into, this is the one I recommend. And it has some of the best switching between weapons, right? Like especially further on in, you're coming across a lot of different enemies, and you're having to switch between your crossbow and just your sword, and like certain enemies take certain types of hits. It's actually really a solid game, and it's definitely a in my opinion, a must-have for the Oculus Quest.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. But I think maybe even was the first game that I bought for my Quest. But yeah, what you're saying is absolutely true. And just as much diversity in the gameplay itself as there is in the weapon selection. I mean, so many different levels in this game, and it seems like every time you go to a new level, the gameplay changes. Like there's something different that you're doing. A wonderful game, a must-have. The next title, again, developed for the Oculus Quest, is a must-have for any Star Wars fan. And of course, I'm talking about Star Wars Vader Immortal. You know, a lot of people knock this game because the episodes are so short, but now we have all the episodes, and they're selling them bundled together with the Quest. And, you know, this is a top-notch Star Wars experience. Maybe not so much a game, but if you've ever wanted to be in a Star Wars movie like I have as a fan, this is absolutely the closest thing that you're ever going to get to that. And now that you can play through it from start to finish, again, another must-have in my opinion.
Yeah, and they're giving it away right now as well on the Quest, at least until I think the end of the year, right? And so, I mean, now is a perfect time to pick them up. You get it for free. And this, I've been living on Reddit the last couple of days, just helping people, and people are blown away by this. There's so many videos of newbies just loving the hell out of some Star Wars, and what a great title to help demo to your family and friends, right? Everybody knows what Star Wars is.
Yeah, and anybody can play it. I mean, my 8-year-old just played through the first 2 episodes of this tonight, unassisted, like he just did it on his own. So that should tell you that if he can do it, anybody can play through this thing. Put your grandpa in it, put your nieces and nephews in it, and it's a great experience for everybody. All right, so we're going to move from Vader Immortal, which is one of the most visually beautiful games that you can get on the Quest, to another one of the most visually beautiful games that you can get on the Quest, and that is The Climb. The Climb is, while it's not a Quest exclusive, it is an Oculus exclusive, and it's one of the more well-known, highly regarded exclusives, isn't it, Roots?
Yeah, and this just dropped, last week or 2 weeks ago, and people are raving about it. And it's one of those games that they promised was going to come to Quest right when they first even announced Quest. The Climb's coming, and people were like, I don't know, man, this is a pretty graphically intensive game. And people even mocked it up until, a month ago or 2 months ago before they really announced it. And then all of a sudden it just dropped out of nowhere like VR does. And it's just a really amazing game. And if you haven't seen it or played it, it's definitely worth the price of admission. It is a little steep, but I think it's on sale right now, but I'm not sure.
It actually got a permanent price cut when it released on the Quest. So.
Oh, wow. Okay.
$30 cross-buy enabled, so you get it for both headsets. It's actually not that bad anymore. And it's a very good, The Climb is one of the most visually stunning games for the Rift. The Climb is one of the most visually stunning games on Oculus Quest. And for all the newbies that are coming into Oculus Quest, you all know somebody who has a particular, who heights have a particular effect on. And this game will absolutely get a rise out of anyone who has any kind of even the smallest little fear of heights. The Climb's a great example. Yep. of demo. All right, the next title is one of those that I was referring to earlier, where you think that you've played it, you think that you've experienced frontwards and backwards, but then you get into it tetherless, and it's a whole new deal. And I'm talking about Superhot. You know, there's so much that I could say about Superhot, but there's not much that I could say that hasn't already been said. This game's reputation precedes it. It's the most widely used example of why graphics really don't matter in VR, that it's all about the gameplay. And while this game doesn't look like much on a flat screen, it still holds up as one of the best VR games of all time, even today, right, Roots?
Yeah, and be careful, because if you're playing that, even if I'm tethered on a computer, man, I'm worried about breaking something, man. I can only imagine not being connected to anything. You just could, anytime you're moving around fast, punching shit, just make sure your guard is on and you can see, and you're not gonna smash your TV. And but yeah, this game is really good.
Yeah, Superhot, definitely another knuckle buster. But the good thing about Superhot is that it is somewhat controlled because of the gimmick. Time moves at your pace. So if you freeze, then the world freezes around you, and that's kind of how I play this game. I play it like a puzzle game more than a action game.
Yeah, but you also reload every single time your bullet comes out of your gun in every game. So you probably, I don't know if you could reload this, you'd reload, right?
I don't know. I kind of like the magic of kind of being able to pull off these supernatural moves in this. I like throwing and catching in this game a lot.
Yeah, you were the one that told me you can throw a gun to yourself through to the next scene, and that blew me away, dude.
That's not some good easy. It takes some repetition to do that.
Yeah, that's some. To me, that shows some superior thinking when they made this game. It's like somebody thought that would be a really cool idea, and I think that is really cool. Roots approved. So.
Weasel approved as well.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. Game number 5 needs no introduction. Certainly a front runner in the Quest games of 2019. I'm talking, of course, about Beat Saber. Roots, the most highly selling title in the history of VR. Over 1 million copies sold fairly quickly. Not a whole lot about Beat Saber we could say that hasn't been said, right?
No, it's just an amazing game. And for all of you that doesn't know, Oculus picked this up. So I do believe they're going to have a banging library. Somebody was saying, what if they just dropped like 100 tracks or something? Like with the money that they have at their disposal, I'm psyched to see what they're going to do with this game, even more than they already have. So
yeah, with that Facebook bankroll behind them now, they're definitely going to be able to land some larger, more well-known artists, and we're already starting to see that with Green Day Music Pack being released along with the 360 mode, which again, awesome on the Oculus Quest, the 360 mode. Yeah, again, one of the best. I'm sure most of the people who have a Quest probably already have Beat Saber, but if not, it won't be long before they do.
Yeah.
All right, number 6. If you like games that have character, games that have heart, there isn't very many better examples in VR than Moss. And not only is this one of the most superior examples of storytelling in VR, not only is it one of the most superior examples of graphics in VR, might be the best example of why a VR game does not have to be first person, right?
Yeah, that's one of the biggest things that you always hear is, especially with people that are new to VR, it's third person games wouldn't work, or I guess it would have to be in third person, right? But they do this really well. So
yeah, it always, you can tell which of these these gaming company executives, which ones have spent time in VR and which ones haven't, by who makes statements like that. Anybody that says you can't do something in VR obviously doesn't have a lot of time in VR, because you can do more in VR. It's quite the contrary of what people on the outside think. And this is a great example of doing more in VR. It's a puzzle adventure done in third person, but also first person at the same time. One of the most creative experiences I've ever had, and one of the most beautiful experiences I've ever had.
yeah.
All right. With the in the number 7 spot comes the resident shooter, Arizona Sunshine. I mean, Roots. When we get down to the basics of what makes a VR game great, there's not a whole lot of things that just feel good on the most basic level than shooting things in the face in VR.
Yeah.
And when it comes to shooting things in the face of VR, Arizona Sunshine pretty much has the market right now, right?
Yeah, they do it very well. And, this game is, like we've said, we've played it, years ago. But for Oculus Quest, man, this is the best zombie shooter you got out there. And it holds up. It's really good.
One of the very few actually co-op campaigns when we talk about VR shooters. A lot of them have co-op modes where like you're doing specially designed co-op maps, or you're doing some other kind of leaderboard style of gameplay. This is one of the few that that's a story-based game, but it lets you bring a friend along for the story. And for that reason, it's one of my favorites, even still, even if it has been out for a while. It's still, when I'm trying to bring somebody new in the VR, this is one of the ones I go to help teach them how to move around and how to interact in a VR campaign.
Yeah, every game is fun or more fun with a friend, right? So I wish more co-op games would do that, because a lot of times, you do get in there. Like even you and I, we wanted to Farpoint, and that's great. I would love to play through the actual whole story and not just a couple select levels, So I think that's kind of cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can tell you about Farpoint specifically. As you progress through this campaign, you're gonna be dumbfounded by how could they not make this co-op. And I won't say any more about it than that, but it's about to get pretty epic for you.
Oh God, I need to go back in.
Yeah. All right. Moving on down the line, 3 more to go. Number 8 here, instant front runner for Game of the Year on Oculus Quest. Pistolwhip, an absolute phenomenon. I don't want to call it the first, rhythm shooter, but it's the first rhythm shooter of its kind. The first one to put you on a track, to put you in levels that you move through. So in that sense, it is the first of its kind, right?
Yeah, plus it's more about shooting enemies that are attacking you than it is about shooting targets at the right time. Like, I love Audica, but this is a completely different game. It's apples and oranges as far as trying to compare. But this game feels so good. And I saw somebody on Reddit say, I played through all the games on hard and an hour and a half. This needs more tracks. And people were like, dude, like, did you do it on Deadeye? Did you do it on hard mode? Did you do it? There's so many options, dual wielding. And I would argue, are you going up against Gerillo or, somebody that's really good?
Shiny Robot.
Right? Yeah, Shiny Robot. We found out Shiny Robot blew Gerillo out of the water. But either way, those people make me look stupid. But I like to go up on the leaderboards. That's one of my favorite things is battling my friends and then sticking it in their face and then watching them beat me an hour later. So,
yeah, well, this just goes back to something, a recurring theme on our channel, something we talk about is that A to B gamer who just wants to see the end of it and go on. And this isn't that type of game, even though it is, it is fun to make it to the end of these levels, these well-designed levels. This game is all about replayability. And if you think just because you saw the end of the level that you're done with it, then you're kind of missing the point here. It's all about the gameplay here. It's about the journey, not the destination. And definitely one of the front runners for Game of the Year 2019 on Oculus Quest.
Yeah, especially on the Quest, because, man, this thing without a tether is amazing.
Oh. Yeah. All right, so when we talk about hand interaction in VR, it's one of the biggest differences between flat games and VR games is your hand presence. The ability that you have to use your hands to interact with the world around you. Now, early on, we got one of the better examples of this in Job Simulator, but it didn't really appeal to me because there wasn't really any major objective-based gameplay with it. It was all sandbox. Well, we got a step in the right direction this year when Vacation Simulator was released. Roots still that great hand presence that Job Simulator was known for, but in this game, not only do you have a larger world to explore, but you have some direction from the game, some things to do, and even though it cost me a television to find it out, I definitely feel like it's one of the better releases for Quest this year.
Absolutely. Like you were saying, this is one of the games people were asking me on Reddit, what is a good game for hand presence or interacting with stuff. And I said, hands down, this game. And you're right. It is way better than the first one. If anything, I already work a job. I don't want to work another job. I want to go on vacation. Even though it seemed like you were still working on the vacation, they're still sending you out to do stuff. But like you said, there was more direction. And it was actually really cool because you unlocked stuff and unlocked areas, and it opened up, and each area was different. And like you said, you got to break your TV throwing a fish, frozen into a hole. It's very unique, and it's definitely a game that I would say you should pick up for the Quest.
Yeah, fun for all ages and all experience levels. Somebody who's not very good at games can have fun just interacting with it on that sandbox level. But there's also objective-based gameplay for your more experienced gamers here. A little something for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and that brings us to our last game for Oculus Quest Game of the Year. And we had to debate a little bit about this last category, but I feel like Red Matter deserves some recognition, not only for being an excellent story-based puzzle game, but for being one of the most beautiful games that came out on Oculus Quest, if not the most beautiful game that came out on Oculus Quest this year.
Yeah, this is a game that not only looked good, but it felt good. Like the moving around, the gameplay, the puzzles. The story was a little wonky, but it was a very, very well done game, and I enjoyed every minute of it. And what a great game to showcase VR, especially because it looks so amazing. Like between this game, The Climb, what was the first one? There's just certain games that you look at and you just can't believe this is in a headset that's not connected to a computer. Like it's just a processor from a phone. That's crazy.
Yeah, definitely. When I played the PC version of this, it blew me away with how beautiful it was. Like, I can't believe my computer is doing this right now. And apparently they've managed to bring that same experience over to the mobile processor. Again, I can't believe I'm getting this from my mobile processor. Unique story, unique gameplay, unique puzzles, and unique locomotion in this game. A lot of great things about this game, and absolutely one of the best releases for Oculus Quest this year.
Absolutely.
All right, and that's going to round out our top 10 candidates for Game of the Year 2019. What did you think about the list? What did we leave off? I know there's a lot of good games on there. Did we leave your favorite one out? Be sure to let us know in the comments down below. And better yet, join our Discord. Maybe you think that something else should be Game of the Year. Well, guess what? We have a channel in our Discord for you to vote. And we're going to make it worth your time, because anyone and everyone who shows up to the 2019 show, whether it be live or on replay, is going to have a chance to win a buttload of games, get to watch us give out a buttload of awards, and have a hella good time. So with that said, friends, we'd like to thank you folks for watching. For Roots, I'm Wes. Happy New Year, friends. We'll see you tomorrow.
Take it easy.